Live from New Delhi, you're watching DD India Live, India's voice to the world. I'm Tanvi Taneja. Coming up in the next 30 minutes. First day of US-China trade talks conclude in Malaysia. Washington describes the talks as very constructive as Trump and Xi are due to meet in South Korea next week. Trump increases military presence in South America with deployment of the world's largest warship off the Caribbean. Venezuela President Nicolas Maduro accuses the US of fabricating war in the region. India's foreign exchange reserves rose by $4.5 billion to cross $702 billion mark on the back of a surge in gold reserves. And the Indian cricket team avoids a whitewash against Australia with an easy 9-wicket win in the third ODI at Sydney, thanks to Rohit Sharma's ton and Virat Kohli's half-century. The first day of trade talks between the United States and China in Kuala Lumpur on Saturday concluded on a positive note as per the US Treasury official. The US delegation said that the talks are expected to resume Sunday morning and termed them as constructive. The world's two biggest economies are seeking to avoid further escalating and damaging tit-for-tat tariff tensions, with US President Donald Trump expected to meet his Chinese counterpart Xi Jinping in South Korea next Thursday. Trump said on Friday that the issue of Taiwan will also be among the topics discussed with Xi.
I'd love China to help us out with Russia. We put very big sanctions on Russia. I think those sanctions are going to be, they're very biting, they're very strong. But I'd like to see China help us out. I have a good relationship with, as you know, President Xi. Very good. We're going to be meeting. We'll have a good meeting. I'm pretty sure we're going to have a great meeting, maybe a great meeting. But I think we're going to do some good business. One of the things we'll talk about is the Russia-Ukraine.
Well, I'll be talking about Taiwan. Won't be going there, but I'll be talking about it. Won't be too far away. A lot of respect for Taiwan.
Beijing announced this month sweeping controls on the critical rare earths industry, prompting Trump to threaten 100% tariffs on imports from China in retaliation. The two countries also began charging arrival fees on each other's ships, sparked by a US Section 301 investigation that found Beijing's dominance in the industry was unreasonable. Trump and Xi are expected to meet next week in South Korea. The US on Friday imposed sanctions on Colombian President Gustavo Petro, accusing him of failing to curb illicit drug trafficking and refusing to stop the flow of cocaine to the US. The US Treasury blacklisted Gustavo Petro, First Lady Veronica Alcocer, his eldest son Nicolas, and Interior Minister, banning them from travel to the United States and freezing any US assets they hold. The action adds Petro to a list of world leaders under US sanctions alongside Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro, Russian President Vladimir Putin, among others. Last weekend, Trump announced an end to hundreds of millions of dollars of US aid to Colombia and threatened tariffs on Colombian goods. Colombian president said that he had sought to fight drug trafficking for decades. Gustavo Petro said sanctions on him were a paradox in a post on his social media platform on Friday. Petro said, and I quote him, "I have no desire, I never will, to do business in the United States."
I've never done business. I don't have a dollar in the United States. There's no account to freeze. I have no desire and I never will to do business in the United States. That is why this gathering has an objective, which is not only to talk about Trump, we will not speak about him anymore in this government.
Thousands of supporters rallied in Bogota's Bolivar Square to back President Petro after the US imposed sanctions on the Colombian leader, escalating tensions between the longtime allies. At the demonstration, supporters carried banners reading, "Thank you, President Petro, for your legacy," and "Petro is not a drug trafficker." Police checked attendees at security checkpoints as crowds streamed into the square, some waving Colombian flags while a drum band played. The move marks a sharp deterioration in relations as the U.S. military activity has increased in the southern Caribbean, with Trump accusing Petro of allowing drug cartels to flourish. Meanwhile, the Pentagon on Friday ordered the deployment of an aircraft carrier strike group to counter drug trafficking organizations in Latin America. The deployment is part of Trump's military build-up in the Caribbean, which includes 8 additional warships, a nuclear submarine, and F-35 stealth aircraft. The USS Gerald R. Ford, which was commissioned in 2017, is the United States' newest aircraft carrier and the world's largest, with more than 5,000 sailors aboard. The carrier announcement came after Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth said an overnight strike on a boat alleged to be operated by Venezuelan drug trafficking gang Tren de Aragua had killed 6 people in the Caribbean Sea. The U.S. military has carried out 10 strikes against alleged drug vessels, mostly in the Caribbean, since early September. The deployment marks a significant escalation amid heightened tensions with Venezuela. Further, Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro said that U.S. is making up an eternal war as Trump administration announced a U.S. military build-up in the Caribbean. Maduro defended Venezuela as a drug-free country, adding that Venezuela will put an end to cocaine trafficking that comes from neighboring Colombia.
The people of the United States know it. They are making up a new eternal war. They promised that they will never enter a war, and they are making up a war that we will avoid. With the mobilization of the people of South America, as South America and the Caribbean all say no to war, yes to peace, yes to prosperity, yes to harmony and living together.
Caribe todo dice.
U.S. President Donald Trump is headed for Asia on Saturday. He will attend the 47th ASEAN Leaders Summit in Kuala Lumpur. Trump is due to arrive in Kuala Lumpur on Sunday morning on the first stop of his trip through Asia. Malaysian authorities, meanwhile, ramped up security measures in Kuala Lumpur for the 3-day ASEAN Summit. Security personnel were seen conducting thorough checks at all entry points of the venue of the summit, Kuala Lumpur Convention Centre. The summit comes at a critical time as the region grapples with tensions in the South China Sea, the ongoing crisis in Myanmar, and efforts to strengthen economic integration amid global trade uncertainties. Meanwhile, Thai Prime Minister cancelled his trip to the ASEAN Summit in Malaysia due to the Queen Mother's death, but said that he still wanted to jet in for a peace deal with Cambodia to be witnessed by President Donald Trump. Now, ahead of U.S. President Donald Trump's visit to South Korea for the Asia-Pacific Economic Cooperation APEC Summit, thousands of South Korean protesters held a rally in downtown Seoul, condemning his tariff policies and pressure on South Korea to invest in the United States. Ivorians lined up to vote in a presidential election on Saturday, with incumbent Alassane Ouattara claiming credit for nearly 15 years of economic growth and relative stability, while strongly hinting that it will be his final campaign. A former international banker and deputy managing director of the International Monetary Fund, Ouattara took power in 2011 after a 4-month civil war that killed around 3,000 people. The war was triggered by the refusal of his predecessor, Laurent Gbagbo, to acknowledge defeat in the 2010 election. Gbagbo and T. Thiam, former CEO of Credit Suisse, were deemed ineligible to run this year, and the remaining opposition candidates lacked the backing of a major political party, making Ouattara the clear favourite. More from Asia. Iran declared Ayande Bank, one of its largest private banks, bankrupt on Saturday, with its assets taken over by the state. Founded in 2012, Ayande Bank had 270 branches, including 150 in Tehran, but was hit by a debt totaling around $2.9 billion and losses of $5.2 billion. Its assets have been taken over by state-owned Melli Bank, with the central bank assuring depositors can recover their savings. Melli's director confirmed that the transfer is now complete. You're watching DD India Live, still to come on the show. Financial Action Task Force warns Pakistan that its grey list removal doesn't make it immune from money laundering and terrorist financing. Veteran comic actor Satish Shah passes away at the age of 74. And the 4-day festival of Chhath Puja, honouring the sun god, begins today.
Indian industries are facing pressure because of President Trump's tariff threats.
Even tariffs are part of the story, actually. If you were to look at the whole story of the deindustrialization of India, it began in many ways under the British rule. They say, oh, it's not our fault. India fell behind because you missed the bus for the Industrial Revolution. My answer is we missed the bus is because you threw us under its wheels.
Welcome back. You're watching DD India Live. I'm Tanvi Taneja. World leaders are gathering in Kuala Lumpur as Malaysia hosts the 47th ASEAN Summit. Prime Minister Modi will participate in ASEAN-India Summit virtually. ASEAN is central to India's Act East policy and plays a key role in global geopolitics given its strategic location and economic potential. DD India's Shubhendu Ghosh brings us more.
Becomes the epicenter of global diplomacy this weekend as Malaysia hosts the 47th ASEAN Summit. ASEAN stands for Association of Southeast Asian Nations, a regional intergovernmental organization of 10 member countries, including Brunei, Cambodia, Indonesia, Laos, Malaysia, Myanmar, Philippines, Singapore, Thailand, and Vietnam. East Timor is set to become ASEAN Bloc's 11th member. ASEAN is central to India's Act East policy, serving as a cornerstone for economic, strategic, and cultural engagement across the Indo-Pacific. Prime Minister Narendra Modi is set to join the ASEAN-India Summit virtually. Earlier this week, Prime Minister Modi spoke with Prime Minister Anwar Ibrahim and extended greetings on Malaysia's assumption of ASEAN chairmanship. He conveyed best wishes for the successful conduct of ASEAN-related summits under Malaysia's leadership. PM Modi reaffirmed India's commitment to further strengthen ASEAN-India comprehensive strategic partnership. External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar will represent India at the 20th East Asia Summit in Kuala Lumpur. India and ASEAN will look to strengthen cooperation in maritime security, counter-terrorism and cybersecurity, expedite ASEAN-India trade in goods agreement to make it more effective and user-friendly, promote diverse, secure, transparent and resilient supply chains, cooperate in humanitarian assistance and disaster relief, peacekeeping measures, cooperate on emerging technologies, including AI, blockchain, Internet of Things, robotics, quantum, and 6G, boost people-to-people ties with 2025 designated as the ASEAN-India Year of Tourism. ASEAN sits at the crossroads of major shipping lanes and economic corridors between the Pacific and Indian Oceans, amplifying its geopolitical and economic importance. US President Donald Trump, Brazil President Inácio Lula da Silva, along with host of leaders from across the world are gathering in Kuala Lumpur to engage with the Southeast Asian bloc. ASEAN countries have a population of over 670 million, making it the third most populous region in the world and a combined GDP of $3.9 trillion. Shubhendu Ghosh for DD India.
So as Malaysia is hosting the ASEAN summit beginning tomorrow, our correspondent Akhilesh Suman spoke to the High Commissioner of Malaysia to India, Dato Muzaffar Shah Mustafa.
ASEAN summit is taking place in Malaysia's capital, Kuala Lumpur. And here with me is the High Commissioner of Malaysia to India, Dato Muzaffar Shah. Excellency, your country is hosting ASEAN summit at a unique time when the whole world is getting affected and challenged by Trump tariff. So do you think that ASEAN as a grouping will interact with Donald Trump and find a solution?
As you know, US is also one of the dialogue partners for ASEAN. So this year, as what we have done it previously, so I hope there will be opportunity to interact with all the leaders of ASEAN dialogue partners, including the US.
High-level delegation from India is also visiting ASEAN. How do you think that India-ASEAN are going to form a new trajectory when there are many challenges in the world at this moment?
There will be two meetings. One will be East Asia Summit and also ASEAN-India Summit. So there are a lot of opportunities for ASEAN and also India to interact during these meetings. And then, of course, for the ASEAN-India Summit, there will be review all of the ASEAN-India dialogue relations and also the future direction of ASEAN-India relations. So that's, you know, the opportunity for ASEAN and also India to chart the way forward, especially in discussing, you know, as what has been adopted during ASEAN ministerial meeting, ASEAN-India ministerial meeting. Especially under the ASEAN-India Plan of Action 2026 to 2030.
And you know, India-Malaysia relations are also exemplary. And at a time when India is thinking to become a developed country by 2047, how do you think that Malaysia and India can cooperate in, fulfilling India's plan and India's goal of achieving the developed nation's status?
India's vision of becoming a developed nation by 2047, our two economies are complementary. Yeah. So there's a lot of areas that we can work together to address all the challenges, especially now for Malaysia. India is a very important regional player. So, no doubt that we need to support each other, especially during, uncertainties of the global economies.
Business delegation is also visiting from India to Malaysia this time for the ASEAN summit.
There will be also a sidelines program focusing on promoting business. India's business delegation, but there's also a business summit going to be held in conjunction with the Malaysia's hosting the ASEAN summit this year. So I think always, economic issues have always been now very important to many countries. So I think this is also the time that we try to look how we can strengthen our collaboration in the economic sphere.
Thank you so much, Excellency. So, as the High Commissioner of Malaysia tells that it is one of the important ASEAN summits that is going to take place when BRICS and G20 members are also visiting. This is the time when Global South and developed countries will also interact at this occasion. Akhilesh Suman for DD News and DD India with camera person Jagmohan in Delhi.
Vice President of India, C.P. Radhakrishnan, will visit the Republic of Seychelles from Sunday. He will represent India at the swearing-in ceremony of President-elect Dr. Patrick Herminie. During the visit, Vice President Radhakrishnan will convey India's warm congratulations to Dr. Herminie and reaffirm the close and time-tested friendship between India and Seychelles.
It is a matter of great honor for us to welcome the Honorable Vice President to Seychelles on the occasion of the swearing-in ceremony of the President-elect, Dr. Patrick Herminie. As you are aware, Seychelles had elections here a few weeks ago. This is also Vice President's first foreign visit. We look forward to strengthen our bilateral relationships with Seychelles, which is already a time-tested and multifaceted partnership. Through this visit, it will also be an occasion for Honorable Vice President to interact with the Indian diaspora here and also meet with the dignitaries on the Seychelles side, including a call on the President and a meeting with the new Vice President.
The Financial Action Task Force, the global terror funding watchdog, has warned Pakistan that its removal from the grey list in October 2022 doesn't make it immune to money laundering and terrorist financing. FATF President Elisa de Anda Madrazo emphasized in a press conference in France that countries, including Pakistan, must continue implementing measures to prevent and deter crimes. Pakistan was removed from the FATF grey list in October 2022 and has been under follow-up to ensure that it is implementing anti-terror financing measures. The comments by FATF President come amid reports of Jaish-e-Mohammed using digital wallets to fund terror camps, masking financial flows. Notably, India's National Risk Assessment 2022 identifies Pakistan as a high-risk terror financing source. Union Health Minister of India, JP Nadda, addressed the 50th annual convocation of AIIMS New Delhi on Saturday, highlighting India's progress. He noted that while medicines for diseases like tuberculosis and tetanus took decades to reach the country, India developed 2 indigenous COVID-19 vaccines within a record 9-month period.
Witnessed that we took 25 years for the medicine of tuberculosis to come to India. It took 28 years for medicine of tetanus to come to India. But Corona came in January 20, the first case was detected. And in April, a task force was set up. And within 9 months, not one, but 2 indigenous vaccines were invented.
In some sad news now, veteran Indian actor Satish Shah is no more. He passed away at the age of 74 at his residence in Bandra East, Mumbai on Saturday. A graduate of the Film and Television Institute of India, FTII, Satish Shah began his acting journey with films such as Arvind Desai Ki Ajeeb Dastaan, 1978 and Gaman, 1979. His breakthrough came with a hugely popular 1980 sitcom Ye Jo Hai Zindagi, where he showcased his incredible versatility by portraying multiple characters in each episode. He's also known for his portrayal of Indravardhan Sarabhai in the cult favourite comedy Sarabhai vs. Sarabhai, winning hearts with his impeccable timing and wit. In cinema, Shah delivered one of his most memorable performances as Commissioner de Mello in the 1983 classic Jani Bhi Do Yaro, a film remembered for its biting satire and unforgettable humour. Over the decades, he went on to appear in several successful films including Main Hoon Na, Kabhi Haan Kabhi Na, Kal Ho Na Ho and Bhootnath. More news from India. The 4-day grand festival of Chhath Puja begins today with the traditional ritual of Nahai Khai. On this day, devotees take a holy dip in rivers, ponds or other water bodies such as the Ganges or local streams, symbolizing the purification of the body and the soul. Devotees are gathering along river banks and taking holy dips across India to ensure the best experience for devotees observing the Chhath Puja, fasting and offering aragya, which means offering to the sun. The preparations were done by the Delhi government at around 1,000 sites across New Delhi, including the development of 17 model ghats. Embankments are being built alongside the river to create a seamless experience. For security, wooden barricades have been installed along the banks of the Yamuna River. Prime Minister Narendra Modi extended his greetings on the first day of the Chhath Puja celebrations. In a post on X, he wrote, and I quote him here, "With the sacred ritual of Nahai Khai, the 4-day grand festival of Chhath is commencing auspiciously from today. My heartfelt best wishes to the devotees across the country, including Bihar. My salutations and homage to all the observers of the fast." Unquote. India's cricketing stalwarts Rohit Sharma and Virat Kohli steered India to a 9-wicket win over hosts Australia in the third and final ODI at the Sydney Cricket Ground. Rohit Sharma and Shubman Gill started the chase well. However, Gill was dismissed for 24 by Josh Hazlewood after the power play, bringing Virat Kohli to the crease. The Rocco duo turned back the clock and made the chase look easy. Both stamped their authority with an unbeaten 168-run partnership, taking India to the finish line in just 38.3 overs. while Rohit brought up his 33rd ODI century. Kohli bounced back from consecutive ducks to bring up his 75th ODI half-century. Earlier in the game, Harshit Rana returned with impressive figures of 4 for 39 as India bowled out Australia for 236. With this win, India avoided a clean sweep as Australia clinched the series 2-1. And that's all for this edition of DD India Live. Do let us know your thoughts on the news of the day. Connect with us on our different social media handles at DD India Live, and you can also download our DD India mobile app for quick news and updates on the go. We'll be back with more news as it breaks here on DD India. I'm Tanvi Taneja from all of us here in New Delhi. Thank you for watching. Namaskar.